That's a lot of design. That is a wild look. As Kim Dunn would say, that is a wild look. It started looking like a little bit too much. I know that's saying a lot, you know, when it's coming from me. But I've discovered when you face a design conundrum, just pretend it doesn't exist. So I just pretended it didn't exist, and I added more holes. What's the matter? Don't you like musical comedy? It's Saturday. It's Saturday. It's Saturday. I didn't get much video recorded yesterday because I fell down a rabbit hole. When I left off last week, I had gotten some stitches laid in. I got this part of Sneaky Fuss Budget done. I pretty much finished Celebrate Your Shame, which is what I'm calling this stitch pattern. One thing I had planned to do, which I didn't do, and I want to think a little bit more about, was I was going to couch down these long threads, and I still think I want to do that. But I tried doing that with some gold, and it started, honestly, it started looking like a little bit too much. I know that's saying a lot when it's coming from me, but I was thinking, well, I could do it in the same color thread, and then that would just be a little more subtle. Subtle is not my forte. I like these beads, I like the color of the beads, but again, I'm just thinking through, they seem a little large to me. And then this is the Tori design, which I finished last week, or at least got started on last week. And that's what led me to my conundrum of this week. Every week there's a fresh, shiny new conundrum to be dealt with. This part of the design. So you have like an arrow that goes, so this is where a card is going to go, and it comes down to this corner that I talked about that I'm going to do embroidery, or I'm going to do an applique down in this corner, just like I did here. And then there's this place for a card. And the way I designed it is there's two kind of, I guess, ribbons that go behind and through. And I mean, visually, it's okay. I mean, I could make it work. But as I was doing the Tori stitch pattern, I was having a really hard time spacing these evenly because I wanted to have a stitch, like if I was gonna have a chevron stitch, I wanted to have it right here in the middle. And then trying to get two on this side and two on this side, they started getting too tight. But if you just do one on this side and one on this side, it's not tight enough. Yeah, you could make them them narrower, but then I didn't like that. So that put me in a bind. Furthermore, and so forth, I'm not sure I'm 100% in love with this, the way I've done this design. I think I could make it better. So I've been thinking about that and trying to figure out what the best way to deal with that is. And pursuant to that, that's what made me go down the rabbit hole yesterday. Because I thought, well, what I want to do is, as I often do, is get out some test fabric and do some test stitching and kind of work through it in a test before I throw it into the project. It's always a good way to do it. So I got out all my huge amount of blue, you know, I have all this blue linen and I backed some of it. And I thought, well, I'll just wind it onto a frame like I usually do, but I've already used this frame for these test stitches. And I want to lay in some more test stitches on that one, because I'm kind of using that for other things. So I needed to set up a new frame. And then I thought, well, what I wanted to do was actually use this design, like actually transfer this design onto my sample piece so that I could kind of work in the scale and work with the widths and all that kind of stuff. So here's where it gets really interesting, because this is the rabbit hole I fell down. It actually yielded some astonishing results. You know how I've been doing the wash and go and putting the wash and go on top of my fabric material in order to provide me with design lines to embroider over. And furthermore, if you've been watching, and there's no guarantee that you have, but if you've been watching, you will know that I hand traced this design onto the wash and go, and I have not always been particularly satisfied with the results. the fidelity is not all it should be. Let's put it that way. So I got to thinking, I have a really nice inkjet printer. It's a Pixma. I wonder, is there any way I could possibly inkjet print this design onto the wash and go using my inkjet printer? Well, what a fascinating concept. Then I thought, well, how could I possibly accomplish that? Well, I've seen YouTube tutorials from other stitchers and quilters and sewing people where they use freezer paper. I thought, well, now, hey, what if I ironed the wash and go onto freezer paper? Because freezer paper, if you've used it before, you know you can iron it onto fabric and it sticks enough to do what you need it to do, and then it's really easy to pull off. So I'll iron the wash and go onto freezer paper and then run that through my inkjet printer. How would that work? I'll tell you. This particular first version had some problems because it got stuck in the inkjet printer, but look at that. Look at that. Is that not the sharpest, crispest, cleanest set of design lines you've ever seen? Now, that was one of the rabbit holes I fell down, was not just the concept, but also I actually went and sat down with Illustrator and digitized the entire design yesterday. That was a big project because I'm not super great at Illustrator. I'm really trying to learn how to do Illustrator better. But one of the things I'm really bad at is these are like two curves that intersect. I can never figure out how to make paths join. Like it always says, select the end of an open path and to connect it. And I can never do it. So I need to take like a Illustrator class or something. But anyway, for the most part, I got the design laid in. And this is only a part of it because I can make sheets. This is this freezer paper. If I cut it down, freezer paper is about 15 inches wide. So you can, and the Pixma can print from up to 13 by 19. But I think what I'll do next time is just make sheets that are 11 by 17 so that it's just standard. It's just, you're not having to fuss around with custom print settings or anything. But the cool thing is, and again, this is just a throwaway piece because like I say, it got stuck in the printer. I think the secret I learned was the other piece, which I will show you, which actually worked out a whole lot better, was don't let it set too long. After you've ironed the wash and go onto the freezer paper, go and use it because it kind of gets loose and flexible as it cools. So when it's nice and hot and fresh and crisp, it seems like it's a lot more stiff and it goes through the printer better. But anyway, I was going to show you this before I show you the actual one that turned out. I mean, this is how you can just peel it right off the freezer paper, assuming I can find a corner that I can peel it, which that may be a bold assumption. Let's see how long this is going to take.
One eternity later.
I got to find that audio. Oh, for heaven's sakes, pointy pointer, come on, help me out. Ugh. There we go. There's a corner. So look, I mean, it literally just pulls right off the freezer paper. And I could probably still use this I'll just use this for another test at some point. And then all I do is just basically like I did with this stuff, I spray the back with this stuff, this ODF 505 temporary adhesive for fabric. You spray bond the back. You could even spray bond this side if you'd prefer. And then you just lay it onto your thing, smooth it down, and you've got yourself, not only do you have a beautiful set of design lines, it's on wash away stabilizer. So I think that's pretty cool, and it worked out pretty well. And if anybody is interested in seeing a tutorial, one of my tutorials about that, put it in the comments. I think probably I'm going to do tutorials if people comment and ask for them, because I could be doing them all day, every day, and I have no idea if anybody even wants them. So if you would like to have a tutorial on how that's done, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do one. Anyway, so here is the actual piece that I'm going to be working on today again, I got to be careful, to test what I want to do with this. Now, let's see here. As you can see, what I've done, I've replicated. Look at how much nicer and sharper and cleaner that is. I mean, you compare that, let's see if I can get them kind of side by side without janking everything up. That to that. I mean, this is all based on geometric precision and guides. And I had guides that I measured, you know, precision 0.25 inches away from each other and everything. Everything's just perfectly, precisely measured. Now, this is going to look smaller because I printed it at 80%. I didn't print it at full size because I didn't want to. I figured I wanted to make it smaller, mostly because this piece of linen I cut to 10 inches wide to fit this frame. And so I had to make this, and if I had made this 10 inches wide, then it would have, whatever. Long story. So I'm going to, with this one, mess around with, I have some stitches that I've been playing around with. They're on a hoop all the way over there, so I'm not going to go get them. So I want to try to figure out some stuff to go, obviously, into this frame, some kind of a stitch pattern. And then you see with this, I've basically made it into one design element, as opposed to having two things kind of crisscrossing. And I figure if I do, that'll give me a way to kind of to play around and think through, do I want this to go behind? Maybe I do two more, like I've got an arrow here. That could be kind of cool. Maybe I do something, maybe I really go ham and replicate here, maybe make this into an arrow the same way I've got an arrow right here going into the applique. I wish I'd figured this out before I started this project, because I could have printed this. It would have been so much nicer to work on with these than with this. I was actually thinking, I'm like, could I start over? But no, I'm not going to start over. This is a process. We're gonna get through this, and then on the next project, I will have learned more and I will use this method. But this would be so much nicer to work on. I would have design lines that I felt so much more confident in. But, you know, I think that's part of the story of this particular spread. This particular spread is about randomness. It's about not being sure of yourself. It's about not quite knowing what you're doing and learning along the way. It's about the friends you made along the way, really, or something like that. So what I'm going to do, given that, is I am going to take my really nice set of sample with its really crisp and lovely crispy design lines and see if, now, given here I'm talking about how much I love these design lines, I would still have to go through and, but that's the nice thing about having this all digitized, is if I wanted to, which I'm not going to do, I can just do this with a pen, I can just do this by eye. But if I decided I wanted to make that design change, I just go into my Illustrator file, and with my admittedly limited skills in Illustrator, I think I could probably figure out how to do that, which is actually probably I couldn't. But I'm going to have to study Illustrator at some point, because I love Illustrator, and it's a very, very useful tool. But I find the paths very difficult to work with paths. I'm going to get this off here so I don't mess anything up. But I'm going to go work on that for a bit. And when next I pop this open, I should hopefully have some other things to show you. I have identified some really cool kind of stitches to go in these borders. So if nothing else, I think I've got a stitch pattern I could lay in here. Anyway, I'll stop now, and I'll be back at you later, and we'll talk more, and I'll let you know how it's going. Oh no, Osmo, you disconnected. What happened? Are you still recording? Okay, bye. Oh no. Osmo? Yeesh. Well, it is Sunday for at least the next hour, and I have been stitching all day. It's going to be a short video. Maybe a long hyperlapse, but it's going to be a short video, because basically all I've been doing is stitching. But I think I figured some things out. So, when last we talked, I was trying to figure out this whole design area down here. And I think what I told you that I did is I got some linen out, and I put my design motif on it. And boy howdy, I went to town. I did. I think I said that I was slightly concerned that I was going over the top. Maybe I was getting a little garish. Well, my friends, I think that ship has sailed. All right, well, so I did some test stitches. This isn't much. I just messed around. You'll see some of these. Yeah. Some woven stitches, this, that, and the other thing. Well, let's just get to it. Let's just get to it, shall we? Here's where I ended up. Yes. Yes, indeed. I have not held back on the gold. No. No, sir. Well, so here's the thing. My conundrum was this whole area in here. I just decided to give up. I'm just gonna, so what I've done, this is like a, I think it's called a Cretan stitch. This is probably the only pulled back part of this whole fantasy. You know, I've discovered when you face a design conundrum, just pretend it doesn't exist. So I just pretended it didn't exist and I added more gold. So, yeah. Pay no attention to this part of the arrow. Don't like that. Like this. It's okay. It's just gold work. It's couched down. This is a woven stitch through here. I'm going to call it the golden thread of destiny. I got to come up with names for all this stuff. This here is gold trim because got to have more gold. And I think it's going to be okay. I've kind of tried to, I'm trying to tie it together somehow. Like, this is my sneaky fuss budget. It's mint and pink and da-da-da. So I tried to replicate some of that down here with some of this black work, which needs to be couched down. I don't know. It's like, I like it. I enjoy it. It's a riot of color and energy and lots of gold. Is it too much? It could be. Maybe. Possibly. But it's what I'm going to do. So, I do like the fact that I've got little arrows. Look at this. Little arrows go up here. Little arrows. Very cute. So, here's what I'm going to do. I must say, man, I'm like working on this printed wash and go was so much nicer. All my design lines were nice and crisp. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So, like, one of the things I was trying to figure out was like these little banner things or these ribbon things. Like, so I think I'm going to totally just pretend they don't exist and just have this be a card, right? But I do think I'm going to have them crisscross. So I've kind of run the stem stitch like this, and then I'm going to run that stem stitch like that. I guess that's addresses some of my design conundrum. Not really, but whatever. Anyway, so I got something. So tomorrow I'm going to, I guess, take this scheme and lay it in here, I guess, with these janky design lines. And I think I will also, because I think it'll be fun, I think I'll take this nonsense that I've spent the past 10 hours sampling up, stitching on. I think I will take it out of the frame and soak off the wash and go so you can see what it looks like. It's not going to look, it's going to look fine. It'll look okay, I guess, but it'll be on blue instead of on black. And this blue against that blue, or this blue against that blue is going to look weird. But I am curious to see if any of the, like, I made little ink marks to like do spacing. Curious to see if those will go away, but I don't know. It's like I'm fine with it, I guess. It's cool. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of sparkly and gold. Is that okay? Am I allowed to do that much sparkly and gold? Why not? No law against it, I say. Anyway. And I think the colors kind of mostly, maybe sort of kind of coordinate. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so that's it. So tomorrow, which is Monday, I will hyperlapse. I mean, a lot of these stitches are not the most pristine. I mean, I just kind of was throwing them in to kind of get a feeling for how they all look together. So, you know, some of them are a little loosey-goosey. So tomorrow, I will lay them in properly, take this off the frame, rinse out the wash and go, and see how this all looks. It's fascinating. I'm fascinated to see how this all comes out. Look, I got gold work in here. Look at this. Look at my gold work. I got couched in gold work. I got frickin' trim for days. These are little French knots, but I may make those beads. See, that's the other thing, is that, like, this is all kind of a you know, conceptual approach. I mean, I may change some of these things as time goes on, or as I work through it. But anyway, I wanted to get some video in for Sunday because, like, I've done no video, and that's fine. Like, seriously, that's fine. You guys do not need to see me do any more video because my last several videos have been quite long, and it's probably better that I just stitch. So I will keep stitching. Tomorrow I will hyperlapse some of this amazingness. And I will also probably hyperlapse soaking off the wash and go. I guess that's it. I should probably get some sleep. I watched Funny Girl twice. I watched a documentary about the dark side of the moon. Anyway, that's it. I like having, I guess the only other thing I'll say, and Editing Mary can cut this out. Though, Editing Mary, I'm trying to give you a break this week with the fact that I'm not actually recording as much video as I did last week. The only other thing I'll say is I feel like there needs to be more in here. And I don't mean more as in more stitches or more design. It's all blue. I feel like there needs to be another color or something. But that could just be me because I'm clearly going over the top. Not just a little over the top. A lot over the top. Substantially. Extremely over the top with this design. It looks like Slavic Whorehouse? Is that a thing? I don't know. I mean, maybe that is an insult to Slavic whorehouses. I'm not really sure. It's a lot. It's pretty. It's shiny. It's sparkly. But it's a lot. Is it too much? I don't know. If you think it's too much, let me know in the comments. If you think it's not enough, let me know in the comments. If you think it's just right, let me know in the comments. Anyway, that is it for Sunday night. That is all I got in me. Because I've been stitching on this since like 8 a.m. And it is now almost midnight. I had to do this before Sunday was gone. Tomorrow will be Monday. We'll get back at this. Hey, you know, whatever. All right, bye. Whew! It's Monday, and I have got a bunch of stitching to do today. As I mentioned last night, after my 18 hours or whatever it was of stitching on this, I think I have a direction. Is it too much gold? We don't know. We're going to find out together. So this is the design I'm going to lay in. As you can see, this here, this, yes, is already here. This is already here. There's a few extra things that have been added, so we're going to mess around with that. Thread is going to become an issue, or thread amounts, or floss amounts are going to become an issue, as I have run out of 13. Here, let's put you aside. Oh, I'm also going to take this over to the sink and soak off the wash and go on time lapse when I get my sink cleaned. Okay, so let's see here. I got to keep that handy though, because that's going to show me what I'm doing. So I'm out of 13. I'm not out of 13. I think I have one bobbin of 13 left. Let's see here. We got 666, which I love. Nice bright. I like that. I like 666 because it's about the same color as that red satin cord. We've got 19, which is a darker red. And we've got 11, which is more of a salmon. A lot of 19. We got 113. So I think, so again, I guess I shouldn't have put this off to the side, because what I'm gonna do is add stem stitch along here and along here in red. So the question is, do I go the darker red or do I go the brighter red? Because I mean, I don't want to do the 13 just because I want to do some shades of red. I'm kind of feeling like the darker red is probably a better choice, but I also kind of like the 666 because it goes with the satin cord. I'll probably go with the 666 just because it's a better number. We've got, this one is the anchor 132 for this blue. We've got the anchor 0043 for the black. We already know on Tori that it's the anchor 70 and the anchor, it is the anchor 307, yes, okay. And then for this woven stitch down here, we're going to use the same green, the darker green, or the leaf green that we used in Celebrate Your Shame, which I don't know if it was 368. I think I used this green. No, I used this green. I used the 702 for that green. And then I was going to use the light pink, which was the 73 for that. And then just the black, blue, red, tons of gold. So I think I know all my colors. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with this arrow up here, because as I've said, I did a weird little kind of weird woven stitch up there and I don't like it. I might do something up here that's more like this couched gold thread. All right. I think it's time that we got to it. I got a movie to watch. Got my favorite movie of all time. Absolute favorite movie of all time. I got my needles. Got my embroidery scissors. Got my shears. Got my gold trim over there magnetacking. Got all my sparkly. I don't think I can delay another moment. I think it's time. All right, well, that's it. I'll see you guys in a bit. I'll see you on the other side, as they say. Well, it has been a hell of a week. Hell of a week. It's Monday evening, and I sewed on the project all day. And I don't know, when I stopped for the day, I felt a little not happy. And I guess looking at it now, it's not as bad as I thought. I mean, it's getting there, but it's frustrating that, you know, I did all this practice stitching on this piece, and because I had nice crisp design lines, everything turned out the way I expected it to. And then when I got onto the project, I had to struggle a lot more. I had such a time with this woven stitch. I think that was what really gave me, kind of disheartened me today, was when I did this woven stitch on this piece. I was pretty excited about it. I mean, I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool, and I like how it's kind of like figure eights and all that. And then I got in here and it didn't work. It just gave me problems. And it was frustrating because it's based on, you just basically do a back stitch up both sides, and then you weave it and you count the stitches. And I feel like I measured really carefully. I mean, I measured the separation really carefully between the stitches, and it should have worked, and it just gave me a lot of problems. And it was frustrating that I spent so much time on this practice, and it worked great on the practice, and then you get into the actual piece and that didn't work the way you wanted it to. That's awfully frustrating. So overall, it's been a week of putting stitches in, taking stitches out, starting to run low on floss, which I can go get more floss. It's fine, but it's just kind of like it feels, you know, it's that 2 steps forward, 1 step back feeling. I just, you know, I don't know. It just has been it's an odd week. And I think I'm going to get some hyperlapse out of it, but, you know, half of it has my freaking head going into the shot, which is a pain. It's just been like that all week. So I'll go through a couple things here, and then we'll close it out for this week. So I am going to go over to the sink and I have my Osmo set up over there with the ring light so that I can do a hyperlapse. I think I'm going to go ahead and soak this sample one that I did, and see if maybe A, it'll be interesting, and B, I would kind of like to see what it looks like, you know, with the blue background. And maybe it'll give me a feeling of a win for this week. So on this piece, on the sample piece, I was liking having both of these Torii motifs here. And then when I got to this piece, I didn't like it as much. It felt repetitive. And also this design line it didn't have as much fidelity. So I thought maybe I'll go a little wild, a little ham, a little crazy. And I think what I might do is use some GIMP. I think doing GIMP in there, because I'm doing a lot of black, which is going to, you know, obviously against a black background is going to just kind of vanish, but it'll provide texture. And I think that would be an interesting texture for this corner down here, especially since I've done this little detail, which I got to say, of all the things I did, I'm most happy with this detail. Is it too much gold? Nobody knows. You'll have to let me know in the comments, as I've said. But the thing, if I did the GIMP, the nice thing about GIMP is that you could then add stitches along the edge with some different colors. So I think I'll probably go that direction. But I am not going to do that this episode. I'll do that next week, maybe, if I do it. There's a lot more I can do. I mean, I think on this one, I did some additional little details down at the bottom and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm sure, if nothing else, that I will be adding more to this. I think this was just kind of a getting a start. I mean, adding the beads here, that was a last minute call. I like them. I wanted something to kind of give a little bit more color here. And honestly, once I rinse this off rinse the wash and go off of this little sample that I did, it may give me more ideas of what kind of needs to be in here. Still have to I have to figure out what I want to do with this arrow. I'll probably do something up here very similar to what I did down here. Now it's kind of like, I've got to do a lot of additional laying in, now that I've kind of decided what I'm going to do. Had some problems because I was getting pretty close to the edge down here and it was hard to sew. Got to figure out what I'm going to do with this design motif. Got to figure out what I'm going to do in the middle. I think I would guess, maybe stick kind of close to what I did on that original sample from way back when. I don't know. So yeah, it was a frustrating week. It just felt like a lot of work, but I guess I'm kind of feeling like I'm not 100% confident that what I've come up with is what it should be. And I'm still having problems shaking the fear that it looks like a Slavic whorehouse. But, well, I mean, I like it. I think it's colorful. I think it's interesting. Kind of bizarre. Kind of like me. Kind of a shambolic mess. Kind of like me. But I guess it's okay. It's getting there. So, next week, we will be back doing more. I guess that's it. I'm going to go over and take this to the sink and do a time lapse and see what it looks like. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please, like, share, subscribe, whatever. Hope you enjoy the video, and thank you. Bye.